Okay, gang. So, as I probably mentioned in class, this is going to be a little bit of a change for us as we switch over from systems of equations to systems of inequalities. So, we haven't really done this part of inequalities yet on a graph. So, we're starting you off with just single inequalities, just like we did when we started you off with single equations. And now we're going to move into systems. So, in 3-5, we'll move into systems after we get the hang of this. So this first part is really pretty easy. We're just going to be graphing based on what we see in the inequality graph. And there's some certain things. If you remember back, we had things like when we had a greater than or less than symbol, and we talked about um, greater than and less than, and then we had an open or closed. So if we had this, it was an open circle, and if we had this with the equal to sign, it was a closed circle. Well, this is a lot like that, only now we're graphing lines instead of on a number line. So instead of this, we are thinking about it being what type of line we're actually going to put on the graph. So if it's a less than or a greater than symbol all by itself, you're actually going to put a dashed line for your line that you're graphing. And if it has an equal to solid line underneath it, then you're actually going to just make a regular solid line on the graph like normal. So that's kind of easy to remember. The solid line underneath means you're going to actually make a solid line on the graph. If it's not there, it's a dashed line, okay? The other part is we're actually going to be shading in on the graph like we did on our number line, but we're going to be coloring in the entire thing. So if it's less than or equal to, you're actually going to shade below the line because it's actually going to be less than that amount. Okay? And below the line meaning starting at the y-intercept. Okay? It's either above the y-intercept or below it. If it's greater than or equal to, you're going to shade above. And again, above the y-intercept on that entire side of the graph. Okay? So let's start with the first one and see how we do. It always has to be in slope-intercept form. So if it's not, we're going to have to rewrite it. So that's another little tip out here. It has to be in slope-intercept form to graph it. Okay? So we're going to start with the first one. This is our y-intercept, right? So we start there at -1. My slope is 1 over 1. So I'm going to go up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, and so forth. I'm going to do a few this way. Okay? And then I'm going to look at my type of symbol before I put in my line. So it's less than or equal to, which means it has a solid line. So I'm going to go from one side to the other with a solid line. Arrows at both ends, okay? And this is less than or equal to. So it's going to shade below. So I'm going to put my pencil right here on the y-intercept, and everything down below it is going to be shaded. So that means everything below the line I graphed is going to be colored in and shaded. And I'm just going to shade it in, and then we're going to call it good. You don't have to be perfect. Just shaded so I know which side. And that's it. Literally just graphing the line and shading it, just like we do when we have them on a number line. Okay, so let's try another one. I'm going to start at my y-intercept, which is +6. I'm going to go down 2 over 5 for my slope. So 1, 2, down 1, 2, right 5. I'm going to do a couple more the other way. So up 2, left 5, up 2, left 5. Okay. My symbol is just a greater than, so it doesn't have the equal to. So I'm going to do a dashed line all the way across. And then again, it is greater. So it means I have to go above my y-intercept. So everything above it is going to be shaded. Okay? All right, here we go. Next one. This is a special case. It is a hoy. So HOY means horizontal. So I'm going to start at 2 on the y-axis. Okay. Horizontal means left to right, and this this symbol means I'm going to do a dash line. So I'm going to do dash line all the way across at 2, arrows on the ends, and less than means I'm going to go below this line. So that means down here. So everything down here below my line, below my y-intercept, gets shaded in. Okay? Again, doesn't have to be perfect, just needs to show that you understand which side is going. All right? So here's another one. X is greater than or equal to 3. So X is our vux. All right? V is vertical. So I'm going to go on the x-axis, Okay, at 3, put my point. And this symbol says a solid line, so it's going to include a solid line on my graph. Arrows on both ends and greater than. Now this one isn't going to be above or below because we don't have a y-intercept. So it's got to be bigger than 3, which is all the numbers over here. So I'm going to shade everything to the right of my x line because all of these numbers are greater than 3. Okay? All right, last one over there. This one is obviously in standard form, so we have to rewrite it. So 2x minus 4y is greater than 16. We're going to subtract our x. So negative 4y is greater than negative 2x plus 16. Divide by your negative. Now remember, if I divide by a negative, this guy has to flip. So I'm going to flip him around to less than. Negative over negative makes this positive. Okay, so I'm going to start at negative 4. My slope is now positive, so up 1 over 2. I'm going to do the same thing going the other direction. Okay, this symbol says just a dash line. Okay, and then less than means below the y-intercept. So everything down here is shaded. Okay, now let's flip it around. It's already been graphed, and now we have to write an inequality for it. Okay, so 2 things we have to have are the m, the slope, and the b, the y-intercept. Then we're going to be looking at our symbol. And is it solid or dashed? Okay, so y, and we know it's below this, so it's less than. It's dashed, so it doesn't have an equal to symbol. My slope. Well, it starts here, and the next time it crosses is right here. So up 1 over 1, 2, 3. So 1/3 x, and it crosses at 0, so plus 0. And if you wanted to just leave that off, you could do the same there. Okay, let's do the next one. Y, it's shaded below that, so it's less than. It's a solid line, so I need a solid line. The slope is, well, if I start here, the next place it crosses is here, so down 1, 2 over 1. So negative 2 over 1, which is going to give us negative 2. Okay, and then it intersects at positive 1. So y is less than or equal to negative 2x plus 1. Okay, good job. Here we go. Last thing. One more word problem in here. So The Science Club sells t-shirts and keychains to raise money. How many t-shirts and keychains could they sell to meet or exceed their goal? If the club sells 50 keychains, what is the least number of t-shirts the club would have to sell? So, it gives you your information over here. T-shirts are $10 each, so 10 T. Keychains are $2 each, so plus 2K. And we want it to be meet or exceed their goal. So greater than or equal to $500. All right, well, in order to graph it, we need to rewrite it. So I'm going to subtract my 10. So this is an X and this is a Y, you guys. So subtract my 10X. If it makes it easier for you, we'll make them X's and Y's. I have 2Y is greater than or equal to negative 10X plus 500. Divide by 2. And Y is greater than or equal to negative 5X plus 250. Okay, so there's your inequality. Now it says if the club sells 50 keychains, what is the least number of t-shirts the club would have to sell? So keychains, as we said here, is your Y. So if I plug in 50 for my Y value, we need to solve for the X value, which is t-shirts. So I'm going to subtract 250 from both sides. This gives me negative 200. I'm going to divide by negative 5. When I divide by a negative, my symbol flips, so I get 40 is less than or equal to X. So they have to sell 40 t-shirts or more. Okay, so 250 is up here. Down 5 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1. 5 over 1. Okay, so this is a solid line. Okay, and everything below this would give them their goal. No, I'm sorry. I just did that wrong again. Meet or exceed. That would mean everything out here. Okay? All right, let me know what you have questions on.